Alright, so video games, they're supposed to be fun, right? At the end of the day, anytime you pick up a controller to play a game, it's ultimately to have a good time. What I thought we would do today is take a look at Halo 5's arena multiplayer map design, and specifically to see what might keep the players still engaged with the multiplayer almost 4 years into its life cycle. You see, as of this recording, Halo 5 is number 31 on the top 50 most played Xbox games. Now look, I get it. Top 50 really isn't that impressive. 50 is a lot, and while this number might not be surprising to anyone because comparatively the active player base probably isn't as large as other top shooters right now, I do think it is interesting to see the game still have such a stable player base. I just find this interesting for a game that has so much polarization amongst the Halo community. While Halo fans are hardcore and typically play Halo games regardless if they think it's their favorite or not, I just thought it would make for interesting discussion to look at some of the components of its arena multiplayer and see if we can't get some perspective on why it's still played as consistently as it is. Howdy, hey folks, welcome back to the channel. As you know, it is my desire to help bring you some joy in your day with every piece of content that I create. I'm the Coltrane, and let's see what's fun and what's not about Halo 5's arena map design. Now, to be honest, this video was kind of tough to make because frankly, the perception of map design is very subjective. Sure, in any given game, there are some maps that seem perceived as universally bad or good, but when it gets really down to it, the reasons a map is viewed as good or bad are typically subjective. Now, I bring this up because invariably my own subjectivity is going to be injected into this video, but I'll do my best to remain as objective as I can within my own subjectivity. Alrighty, so let's start with what's not fun, because that's what everybody wants to know first, right? But before I do, remember this is only going to be arena maps we're looking at. We're not going to be looking at Warzone maps or Big Team Battle. However, speaking about Warzone and Big Team Battle, I would love to know what you think about those game types and their maps. Come let me know on stream sometime. I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday by 9 p.m. Link below. When I think about what is unfun in map design, the first thing that pops into my mind is the remixes of maps and calling those separate maps. These would be things like Eden and Empire, Plaza and Overgrowth, Truth and Mercy, Fathom and Riptide. Essentially what 343 did here was take a map and remixed it, meaning they changed certain parts of the terrain of the map, some pathing, they slapped on some new and altered aesthetics, but they kept the general layout the same, and they called this a new map. When Halo 5 first came out and this was observed by the fanbase, it did not go over well. 343 was called lazy in their design, and feelings of dishonesty ran throughout as the total number of maps advertised launching with the game did not really feel true. And this response totally makes sense, right? No one really wants this in a game, but particularly not at launch. Players like separate and different feeling maps, and this remix route of delivering play spaces did not end in the player feeling like they had map variety or make the fanbase feel like there was even true uniqueness from one map to the next. I know I certainly wasn't super high up on the reality of it either. It didn't communicate creativity of design from the developers because it didn't feel like a whole lot of new maps were created specifically for Halo 5. While everybody loves the Halo 2 map Midship, we can only take so many new renditions of it, and when you remix it as a map, it still doesn't feel inherently new or that different. Now, to play devil's advocate here just slightly, I do think the idea of remixes is not inherently bad. I think having maybe one or two at most of the most beloved arena maps in the game would be okay, but these shouldn't have been launch maps or even necessarily pre-planned by the developers. Instead, remix type maps should have come, say, a year after launch when clear fan favorites of existing maps have been established, and then maybe have one or two of those maps be remixed in some way. This way, it would have maybe been more accepted because the love for the map being remixed would have been established and thus received better. However, I still don't think this is the best way to go from a map design standpoint, so I think this definitely goes in the what's not fun category. Up next, and moving on specifically to more design philosophy that directly impacts gameplay, is the fact that in any arena match of Halo 5, the player must keep their head on a swivel at all times. Now this one's tricky because this could theoretically be counted as either what's fun or what's not fun depending on what you think about Halo 5's multiplayer. Now, what do I mean when I say you have to keep your head on a swivel at all times? I mean the fact that due to the mobility that the player has and how the maps are designed with a lot of lanes and have multiple access points, you can easily be caught off guard if you're not completely certain of opponent positioning. Your map awareness has to be extremely high. Now, not that this wasn't important in previous Halos, it definitely was, but it's so much more critical in Halo 5 because of all of the movement options the player has. Because you can chase down and cut off opponents through efficient movement or conversely flee away to safety, knowing where enemy players are becomes crucial to the execution of setting up good plays and good engagements. This reality of Halo 5's advanced movement has created a rather large skill spectrum for players to fall upon with a very high-end ceiling. My perspective is that this is good for Halo, because all players have the same movement tools available to them, and so everybody has the same toolkit. The game then becomes about proper stewardship of these tools and refining the use thereof so that players and teams can learn how to traverse the maps to their advantage. This is compounded once a player gains a deeper understanding of how most of Halo 5's arena multiplayer maps are designed. I mentioned earlier that the maps are built within a series of lanes. These lanes, for the most part, create a grid of sort on each map and is accompanied by either 2 to 3 stories or floors that give the map verticality. This is fairly clearly seen in symmetrical maps, but it's also seen in asymmetrical ones as well. This grid nature of lanes in the map means that intersections are everywhere with points of access or egress along with vantage points. This effectively means that at many locations across a map, you will have multiple directions you can attack or be attacked, move to or move from, and this all creates a lot of opportunity for great plays or great chaos. Again, this is very much subjective. Some folks do not enjoy the lane style and verticality-oriented map design coupled with the movement mechanics, while others really do enjoy it. This ties in with the player's movement abilities, and thus it is really tough to try to separate them for an objective look at the map design. This is a polarizing issue for the multiplayer. Either it causes you to really love the flow and feel of the game, or it doesn't. This movement and map design dynamic duo arguably is the strongest component of Halo 5's multiplayer that really has the power to sway how a player feels about the game. I myself really like and enjoy this challenge of learning how to really move well on a map, but be sure to let me know in the comments below if this falls under the what's fun or what's not fun category for you. Alright, but enough of this either or nonsense. Let's actually get down to specifics of what is or what isn't fun. I'll stop sitting on the fence. Another item that falls under the not fun column, and that is that too few maps in the arena have clear, what I will call, points of contention on the map. What do I mean by points of contention? I'm referring to some location on a map that is a focal point of battle over which, for control, will seriously dictate what team has map control and have big implications on what team wins the game. An example of this would either be the BR Tower or Sniper Tower on Lockout from Halo 2, or the Ring from Sanctuary. These were clear places on a map that a team would want to get to and set up on to have control of, because it allowed them to have a solid view of the map and would allow for great team shotting and spawn control and communication of just where the whole other enemy team is. Typically, though not always, these locations would house a power-up or some kind of power weapon spawn that would be critical to control to give your team the best possible chance at winning. These locations typically also offered some kind of element of verticality, which also made them quite valuable because you could see really far. Halo 5 does not have a lot of these. Its symmetrical maps are particularly lacking in this department, and the only symmetrical arena map that offers something like this would be Truth's Camo Tower, as this clearly has a power-up that should be controlled. Now, someone might be tempted to say, but Cole, symmetrical maps are about good team rotations throughout the map constantly. Yeah, you're right, and this is a real good and correct way to engage in those maps. I'm not going to argue with you there. My point is that Halo 5 has too few maps where map control and controlling points of contention are the preferred map play styles. Beyond Truth, I can't think of any other symmetrical map in Halo 5 that has a clear, we must control this spot or we lose spot on the map. Heck, even the camo location on Truth can be argued as being not that important to control as long as you're able to sneak in and grab the camo on its spawn. And this is unfortunate because having a point of contention on a map draws players to it and facilitates engagements and pushes the game along. The map Sanctuary from Halo 2 and its renditions did this so well, particularly for a symmetrical map. Depending on the variant, a certain type of power weapon would spawn in the ring, and teams would want to control that ring area and the bridges extending from either side because it would give them a chance to see across the map and control enemy spawns. However, Sanctuary is balanced in that either base on the map offer their own advantages for teams not able to control the middle to mount effective counterattacks by providing their own proper weapons to help teams try to take the center and thus map control back. And the whole cycle would continue throughout the course of any game on this map because you have this constant struggle of trying to control the middle, which then helps teams control the map to get better kills, and it just makes for a really fun pushing forward of the maps when you're trying to control this certain spot. There really isn't any spot like this in Halo 5 symmetrical maps. The Halo 5 map that offers the clearest version of this would be Plaza, and it's not even a symmetrical map. Plaza's sniper spawn area is effectively the place you want to control because it allows the team to control the only power weapon on the map and has easy access to the power-up that spawns on the bridge. It was clearly a design choice to limit these types of points of contention in the arena's map design. I'm sure this has to do with player movement abilities and the vertical components of the maps and the developers wanting to limit static games where one team would assert map control and just sit there for the whole game. It seems that the developers prefer to rotate, and I get that. This isn't wrong per se. I just think having some clear points of contentions on some maps just allow for different playstyle varieties and just kind of give a uniqueness to the arena. Now look, I really like Halo 5's multiplayer, and I like the advanced movement, so the point earlier about keeping your head on a swivel due to the player movement abilities, and the sheer access to all sorts of spots on arena maps because of their vertical design, I just like that style. However, from all that we've just talked about, clearly the feeling I've laid out here is that Halo 5's arena has more unfun things in its map design than fun things. And as odd as it sounds after I just said how much I enjoy Halo 5's multiplayer, I agree. My closing thought is this: map design in Halo 5 probably isn't the best we have seen in Halo, but it certainly isn't the worst. I think 343 has room for improvement here, and it's my hope that in Halo Infinite, we have a large suite of arena maps that are unique, offer unique playstyles, and look to improve upon the smart and tactical use of whatever advanced mechanics will be in the game. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then I would invite you to leave a like as well as consider subscribing and hitting the bell if you'd like to see more content from me. But let's not leave it there. Interacting is always the best part, so I want to invite you to a couple places where you can do that with me. The first is Twitter. I'm constantly tweeting about anything game related as well as just sharing my everyday life, and would love to interact and talk with you there. Also, would love to invite you to come hang out with me on stream sometime. I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday by 9 p.m. Eastern. Would love to invite you to come hang out there and talk about any games you're playing as well as just experience whatever I'm playing at that time. Lastly, would also love to invite you to come give our podcast a listen, the Fair and Balanced Play podcast. I and some friends talk about anything in gaming, anything that's happening in the industry, and would love to invite you to come join in on that and interact with us there. But regardless of what you choose to do, I hope you choose joy in your life today. And I hope you take that joy and you go give it to the next person you interact with. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.